This is a video about researching for debate, specifically for LD debate. A couple things to keep in mind. You're going to have a team drive or folder, some type of way to keep your team's research. First thing to know is that research is key to debate. If you don't research, your opponent's going to research more than you, have more information, be more confident on the topic, and win. So you got to put some time every week into researching. Maybe you do that in practice, but you want to have at least an hour or two where you're looking for new information on the topic, reading it, making cards out of it so you can pull it out in a debate round, and that's why we have expandos. So make sure that you have as much information on the topic as you can. And when you put it into your shared teams folder, the most annoying thing is when it says untitled document. I mean, you don't know where it goes, what it's about, what you should be using it for, so always title your documents very well. So when I started the research on this topic, name it Novice, November, December topic, LD, kind of cards about philosophy of identity and hidden candidate corruption. So there's kind of two cards here. Eventually you might want to make it into one document, but in the end you're going to have a card that looks like this. And I did this in about an hour and a half maybe. Got a couple sources and I have more rough data, rough information that I can make more cards out of. But I have two cards I could pull out and use right away. And say my opponent's been making a lot of arguments that when people even know about corruption, they don't change their vote. I can pull out this card and prove them wrong, and the judge will think that's impressive, and hopefully I'll win. So research is key to debate. I have to emphasize that. And further, that when you're using your team's drive, make sure that you're naming your cards to be very useful. A couple more quick things about researching is it takes time. You just got to do it a lot. Don't get frustrated and give up. And you need research, so give it your best chance. Everyone always starts with Google. Kind of Google around some keywords, see if you can find something. And it was here. I kind of saw that there were some interesting law articles, which I could have used maybe. But be as specific as you can. So if you know you're looking at corruption and voting behavior, just have 3 words and it keeps it as simple as possible. There's a bunch of good articles on here. Effects of charges of corruption on voting behavior. When people know about corruption, how does it change? Turkey. So there's a lot of good arguments you could use here. I ended up going to Google Scholar, for example, and kind of making it longer, but corruption voting behavior would probably give me the same result. In the end, I used Strauss, I think. Actually, I did not. Found it a different way, but if you do that, yeah, you can see corruption in U.S. congressional elections. It's about democracy overall, so you can use ones about Mexico. Check these sources, a lot of good citations, so it's a good article. You don't have to worry about the methods that much. People trying to make connections. I found one in Brazil that I use later, but you just kind of want to try to mess around with different keywords, see if you can find a good article. And this is the one I ended up finding, so you got to kind of maybe try information, trying to get to the key of your case. You just got to mess around with a bunch of different keywords, read the title, maybe read the description, the abstract, and look for the best article you can find. And it just takes a lot of playing around with keywords. That's really all you can do. Hello, this video is about how to research for debate. So first thing I've done is I'm logged into my team's Drive or Dropbox or whatever you use. And I've got a couple questions I got to answer, so I'm going to write those down. The first is, ownership of identity, kind of property. that you own your identity, because that's going to be an important philosophy that will probably come up in this November-December topic in 2018. The next is an example of a politician being chosen because they're hiding something very serious. Good spelling as usual. Okay, so these are the two things I'm trying to find. So now to do that, you're going to want to set up a couple things. Oh, also name it. What's the what are you working on? And you want to be descriptive in your title. So this is the November-December topic. LD, cards, identity, and hidden candidate. Okay. So then you know to search ND topic LD in the future. Okay, so now things you got to get set up to research is Google. You want to set up Google Scholar. Just Google, if you're not sure how to get there, I'll show you how to. So you Google Scholar, or just Google Scholar even. And there it is. Look at that. Yeah, let's Google. That's good. Yep. And then Google Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Open that. JSTOR. EBSCO, just in case. And then I have my stuff. Every school probably has some type of access to journals. So to log in, you go to JSTOR, log into my account, and then your school should have something to fill in there. EBSCO. Maybe this. I don't know. I don't trust it. Gotta kind of dig around. And sign in. Okay. So now you get your sign-in stuff, you're just going to have to enter in your sign-in information that your school has and ask your coach for this if you're not sure. Okay, so now that we're logged in, we can tell that we're logged in JSTOR by saying access provided by one institution, something showing you're logged in. And I gave up on using ASC and I'm using Gale and the Britannica library. But JSTOR, these three really should be enough. So my first topic I'm looking at is kind of privacy, ownership of identity. So in order to do that, I'm going to want to bring up Stanford Encyclopedia, philosophy, click on it, and so we have a couple terms we can search here. Just use one or two words. So we got privacy and kind of the ownership of identity, that you own your identity, so that's why you require privacy, is kind of the argument we're looking for. So we can just search one word, privacy. There's a whole thing about that. Now you can read through this whole thing and try to find ideas or words that you're looking for, but that's going to be kind of inefficient. So your best friend is Control F. So you want to search on this page for ideas of identity and privacy, or confidentiality maybe. Well, let's search identity first. Yeah, it talks about biometric information with identity, not that useful to us. Maybe keeping things confidential might be more interesting. So you can kind of skim through this paragraph and seems to be talking about how privacy should only be protected when release of the information would reduce its economic value, which isn't really that helpful for our argument. Privacy and human dignity, that's kind of getting closer to what we need. This whole paragraph has a lot of good stuff we can use. We can make a bunch of cards out of this paragraph for a topic on privacy. Because human dignity and human worth is essential to morality. So if you're going to debate values, you're going to have to debate some form of morality. So he's defining one's essence as a human being includes dignity, personal autonomy, and independence. Respect for these values is what makes the concept of privacy. That as an individual, you own your identity, essentially. You have independence, dignity, integrity. It's Blaustein saying that. You can note who says it. Blaustein defends the view. This is really important too. So we can copy this. You can also see text about the Fourth Amendment, common conceptual thread, linking diverse privacy cases is prohibiting dissemination of confidential information. So who's the main person behind this? We can write Blaustein. So we could use just this if we want. Kind of a summary of Blaustein's arguments, or we can go directly to the person himself. So we can look up Blaustein. And this is the source. Now to find that source, we can start searching in our resources. Google's a good start. So if your institution has a WorldCat, you can log in, but I'll assume you don't. So it's not looking that good. You can see the authors, and none of them are Blaustein, the guy we're looking for, except for these first two, which we can't access. So we'll try Google Scholar. We are not subscribed. That happens, but ideally what you would do if you're having trouble finding an article, give it like 10-15 minutes. Took me like maybe 8 minutes to find this, but if it takes too long, you can't find it, you have no idea what to do, you've kind of used this video as a guide, then you want to email your debate coach to kind of see what it is, because my college has access to this, so I'm sure your teacher or coach could find some way to get the article. So this is something that you might want to download and save to your Teams drive and just use it as well as you can. So then you want to kind of read through this and see what the key points are. So basically what you want to do is you want to read through each kind of heading, see if it's related to what you want. I read through, like, you can read through the first paragraph, introduction, and you can kind of see he's introducing a legal argument, which is probably not going to be that relevant if you're talking about morality or ethics. Talks about the legal arguments that the guy he's critiquing, what those are. Cases of intrusion on a plaintiff's private life, which you could use, so you can kind of come back to that if you think it's useful. Public disclosure cases. Use of name or likeness. False light cases. You can kind of read that to read more about what it's like, but basically putting someone in false light, violating their privacy, making them look bad. Privacy in non-tort contexts, which is probably useful. And then conclusion. Invasion of privacy as an affront to human dignity is kind of the key to what you're looking for. This paragraph is kind of key. Talk about how using someone's photograph against their will is like keeping them on a boat against their will, is his example. In all of these cases, it's interfering with being an individual to do what they will. So you want to kind of keep that whole paragraph if you think there's something useful in it. Copy it. So now we we're looking at the privacy page of the Stanford Encyclopedia. We found the term confidentiality is a little better than privacy, so kind of you can look for synonyms of the word you're looking for and look for those. Just open up a thesaurus online. So we found another example of confidentiality, and we see that Anita Allen describes privacy as including confidentiality, seclusion, solitude, anonymity. Privacy is required by liberal ideas of personhood and the participation of citizens as equal, which is essential to democracy. So that relates a lot to the resolution we're working on. So this will probably be a good quote. And also in the paragraph above, Gavison has some interesting things to say. So remember to keep your sources together. And then, so this was, Gavison has some interesting ideas. So we can look for that. Yale Law Journal. It's very old, so hopefully it'll show up. It's on JSTOR, perfect, because we have access to that. And then we can read the article. So you want to take some time to look through this. So reading through the article, you can find some important quotes. So on this one, we found this concept of privacy as a concern for limited accessibility enables us to identify losses. Further, the reasons for which we claim privacy are all similar. They're related to the functions privacy has in our lives. Promotion of liberty, autonomy, selfhood, and human relations, which are key to both democracy and morality. So this is something that you'll probably want to save. Okay, so this doesn't work, so you want to find some type of tool to just take the text for now. What? Not that. So on Macs, it's called grab, and then on PCs, you want to look for something called snip. This time. So there's a screen grab, Control C, copy, and then paste it into our document. remember to save what the source is when you start building cards, because it's vital that you remember which source, what comes from what source. These all come from Stanford Encyclopedia, if you want to just directly quote it. And then you just keep reading through it. See if you also see that she cited someone in making this claim, and you can see what that little citation says, the 11. Also here she has something interesting about privacy should be given weight in balancing values, which is the resolution, balancing privacy and information. It goes through a lot of really interesting points in this article as well. So at some point, someone on the team, whatever your team is, needs to go through and read this stuff, because these headings seem to have a lot of things that you can make cards out of. She makes really good arguments. And it's a good source, published in the Yale Law Journal. Promotes liberty of action. Privacy in society. Might have some interesting stuff in that. Privacy is important for democracy as well, and you can kind of see the reading for that and why they think that. And this is almost too good. Finally, it can be argued that respect for privacy will help a society attract talented individuals to private life, to public life. Persons interested in government service must consider the loss of virtually all claims and expectations of privacy in calculating the costs of running for public office. Respect for privacy might reduce these costs. Just get a little source, 109. See what that says. So, snip that. That's going to be important. Add that to your document. Okay, so we have some really good sources. Look, we can make like 3 or 4 cards out of what we found here on the topic of privacy and ownership of identity. And you can keep searching around, mess with different combinations of privacy, identity, confidential, property. Kind of look in the property page, look at identity, personhood, things like that. And just kind of think of a bunch of keywords you can search them, see how they interact by using Control F on the Stanford Encyclopedia, and you can find some good arguments. Follow the footnotes of the sources, make sure that they're finding good stuff, and then look through your databases in order to find that. So that's how to find a philosophy topic. If you're looking for more of a fact thing, I'll go over that next. Okay, so I'm going to find instead an example of a politician and kind of looking at their financial information to determine corruption. Okay, so I'm kind of Googling around, looking at candidate hidden information, public, corruption, kind of a bunch of terms. So here's something: information, corruption, and voters. Do voters vote out corruption? Can I see the article? So you gotta click download sometimes to see it. So here's a couple facts about corruption that might be key. If we're making the argument that if we don't have privacy, we don't have corruption, or if we have less privacy for candidates, we reduce corruption, then proving that corruption actually impacts stuff is going to be key. So we can add that to our document. And talking about how this is really important in young democracies, which is if we want to spread democracy across the world to improve rulemaking, then that's something that we want to have in our case. So this paper is really interesting. It's looking into do voters support corrupt politicians because they don't know about the corruption? Or do they go ahead and do it knowing that the politician's corrupt? So this article is going to have a lot of stuff, but already in the first 2 pages we found some good information that we're going to use. So let's find that article. Where did I put it? It's this one. Sometimes there's a little tool to cite it. Maybe I'm not seeing it now though. Yeah, I'm not sure. Is this? No. Could send it to a website to cite it, but it's too much work. So I'm going to copy and paste, put in Google Scholar. It's got some good citations too. You want to have a lot of citations. And then here's a little quote thing. If you want to cite it, just grab it right there, right from that. MLA is good. So there we go. And we got our card ready. So this is 2 different cards. It's 2 different quotes. Make sure you separate those. You want to format it. A certain way. I'll do that with these, but you have the idea of it. So anyway, for this last one, this is a really good article of an example of, it's not quite this, I guess. I found the second part that we need, that when voters know about corruption, they vote in less corrupt people, which improves the functioning of democracy. That's the argument, not this. But if you find other stuff on your search, you gotta put it down to help out your team. So what's the tagline that I'm trying to prove here? Voters support corrupt because they don't have information. So that'll be good. Here's the source. there's kind of a couple ways that you can set up a card, but you want to make sure that you say the name of the card, Winters. So this card's going to be Winters, and then the year, 2013, so Winters 13. You have the quote. You're probably going to have two cards about this, maybe saying different things. So I guess this tagline is that corruption has many negative side effects on countries. Including democracies. Or just as many negative side effects on democracies. Makes it a little more simple. And you want to give a quick analysis below this card. Corruption decreases quality of government and the stability of young democracies. Then you kind of keep analyzing the card. The key to democracy is informed. Key to democracy is informed voting behavior. Oh, I guess that's kind of a whole different idea. But so the first thing you're saying is corruption decreases the quality of government and the stability of young democracies. Corrupt officials benefit themselves over society, which damages the society. This is because leading to less stable democracies and less effective democracies. In turn, increasing poverty and reducing economic growth. Reducing corruption is key. Improving governance. So that's your impact of this card. It's kind of stated in the card, but restating the impact that corruption is very bad because it decreases the quality of government and the stability of young democracies. The impacts, and kind of explain why that is, because the card even does that, just kind of doing some analysis on what the impacts of this are. So this is your finished card. It's got your tagline, the source name, quote from the source, and your kind of quick analysis. And you can, the whole thing is what we want to read. Because everything in here is really good. You're probably not going to want not read the numbers, but you can go back and even for each of these sentences that has a citation, find the source and pull out the full idea behind that and have a card for each of these sentences to prove it. If someone questions you, they say, well, how does corruption increase poverty and income inequality? Well, I got that number 4 source. I can give you the example from that source that tells you that. So that'll make you a strong debater, and you do that for each of your cards. You kind of find the key parts. In this one we didn't have to cut much because everything's so good, but in this one there's some things we might want to cut out of the card so we don't read this whole paragraph. So kind of say it's about Brazil. Good test case. Make it a full sentence. Our respondents do not tolerate corruption and are unlikely to express support for corrupt politicians, even if these politicians perform well by providing public goods. These results provide evidence that when given sufficiently credible and accessible information about corruption, even voters in a country with a history of corruption tolerance express a willingness to reject politicians described as corrupt. So this card, you want to write the tagline that when given information, voters about corruption given information about corruption, voters don't vote for corrupt candidates. Maybe even shorten it up. Increased information about corruption reduces support. Your example is Brazil. Your source is Winters, 13. And you can provide some analysis here. And you can come up with your own analysis, but the analysis, you kind of want to think about what the card's saying. You're saying that in this Brazil example, when voters are made aware of corruption, they elect less corrupt leaders, which in turn improve the quality of democracy in Brazil. I already said in Brazil, so I need to say it twice. Be concise. Information is key to this process. So candidate disclosures are key for voters to make an informed that benefits their democracy. So there you go. You got two cards here. You got one that says corruption has many negative side effects on democracies. Another that increased information about corruption reduces support for corrupt candidates, or just reduces corruption, I guess. Even you can make it even shorter, which will be important for your case. If you're arguing that we need more information about corruption is part of that. And when we have information about corruption, we improve the quality of democracy. So it's vital that we make this argument in this case. So you can make a whole case about this if you want, but that's the start of it. You kind of Google around, read some stuff, use keywords, try different keywords until something comes up. Make sure that the source is good. Use the resources I provided up here. Remember to save your source. You can find it later, which I didn't do here, but I'll download it and add it to our drive. Also, this might help to kind of label it so I can use it in the future. And your teammates can read it and make even more cards out of that one source. You can make as many cards as you want out of any source and just build your whole case out of like 3 sources if they're really good sources that are dense with a lot of good information. Yeah, so this is an example of the specifics, and this is the philosophical example, which I'll have to cut and edit and all that, but I told you how to cut and edit, focus on the keywords, make sure it gets the point across, and give just a quick little analysis of it. So when you bring it up and around, you can prove this tagline is true. And that's about it. Good luck with your research, and it's key to be good in debate, or it's key to do well in debate. You have to have a lot of research, you have to out-prep your opponents, and have as much knowledge on the topic as you can in order to win by reading the cards or by being extemporaneous. By knowing this Brazil example, you can just spout it out. So make sure you dedicate some time to that weekly to be good at debate.